Hello, I'm Lewis and welcome back to part 2 of my two-part video series on how to build your very own motorized camera slider. Part 1 is linked below and on screen. Check that video out to see in detail the features included with this DIY project and follow along with the first half of our build process. This video has been sponsored by PCBWay. I'll tell you some more about them later on in the video. So our camera slider project is really starting to take shape now. The next thing we need to do is program the software on our touchscreen controller. You'll find the software available on my GitHub page, which is linked to down below. So let's go plug this into our computer. Connect the touchscreen to the port on its side with the included USB cable to your computer. Before we upload the code from the computer, you need to disconnect the touchscreen from the rest of the electronics. That's as simple as disconnecting the colourful wire here. Now this is because the cheap yellow display has very few available pins to talk to hardware, as it's designed mostly as kind of a software and touchscreen type device. So I'm borrowing the same serial communication lines used to program it from the computer to talk to our ESP8266 in the Wemos D1. Open up the project's GitHub page and then download a zip of the code. In your downloads folder, open up the folder touchgui-camera slider v1 and then eez build and open the file eezbuild.ini. Next, we'll check that the Arduino IDE is working in the correct sketchbook location, so it can find all of the correct libraries included in your download. Open the IDE settings and browse for a sketchbook location. Browse the same folder we just opened our code in and press choose and OK. Now, when you open up the library pane on the left and set the type to installed, you should see the same free libraries as mine here. Some may advertise an update is available. It's best not to, as I've not tested the project's code on any newer versions of the libraries which may have been released since I created this project. To upload it to your screen, select the port from the drop-down menu and set the board to ESP32 dev module and upload. You do need the baud rate to be set to 460,800, and just in case you should have any other problems with your upload, here are my board settings under the tools menu in the IDE for you to check against. And please don't forget, the code will not upload if you have the rest of the project connected. After the code has uploaded, we can reconnect the display to the rest of the project's electronics. To help tidy the Y-stepper motor's power cables, we can 3D print these cable management covers. They're available in a variety of lengths and you fit them just by pushing them into the aluminium extrusion. Now, to know how far you should cover, the trick is to slide the Y-axis all the way along, pull through the excess on the other side of your platform, the side away from the main electronics. So we can see we can cover the cable up all the way up to about this point while still allowing the cable the ability to back up on itself and head to our camera platform. So I'm going to grab a pen and then put a little mark on the track extrusion here. We can slide the platform back over to the other side and pop enough of these to run up to our little mark. So if you're going to be powering your camera slider with an 18-volt mains power supply like this one, then you can just go ahead and plug it into the DC barrel connector here at the back of the electronics housing. If you'd like to power it using a Ryobi battery pack and our 3D printed adapter, then I'll show you how to do that next if you haven't already done it earlier. Now, you might not have realized from my videos, but I have a fair few Bosch power tools and as such have a lot of Bosch batteries. So why for this project did I opt for the Ryobi battery system? Well, there are a few reasons, but the main ones are that the terminal layouts are simple, and I believe that they have built-in overcurrent protection, over temperature cutoff, over discharge protection, and cell balancing. I'm not saying that Bosch is unsafe, but the Ryobi battery is just easier for self-made projects like our one. To assemble this, you'll need to print the Ryobi battery mount body and its lid. Cut the wires down to about 8 cm in length on your barrel connector and then solder on the spring terminals, one to each wire. We can then carefully thread these through the hole and mount the barrel connector in place with its included washer and bolt. You'll see here that I've marked on the 3D print which side is for the positive terminal and which is for your negative. Slide the spring connectors over the internal ridges, double checking that you've got the red wire on the positive and the black on the negative. You can test fit your battery now. It should fit together with a satisfying click. Right, so let's attach our battery pack mount to the aluminium extrusion now. You'll need to remove the battery pack and then insert a couple of M5 by 14 bolts into these two holes in the base of your printed part. The 3D printed lid is then added on top of this before we use 2 of our T-slot nuts to attach it to the slider's underside. Use an Allen key to tighten down the nuts until it locks the battery mount tightly onto your extrusion. To connect it to the electronics enclosure, you can either buy a ready-made DC barrel-to-barrel cable or make your own with 2 male plugs and 2 lengths of wire. If you do this, connect the same terminal on each plug to each other. So in this project, I'm using a PCB as it vastly simplifies the wires and stops our electronics enclosure from looking like a snake's pit. Now, I've had mine produced by PCBWay, who are the sponsor of this video. I've been using them for more than 5 years now to make my PCBs, and they always deliver them faster than expected, if I'm honest. Sometimes I've ordered them on a Monday and I've got them from Friday, which is just crazy considering I'm in the UK. They're coming from China, and I like to order them in the matte black option, which looks great, but takes a little bit longer. You'll find links to their services down below this video, and if you're a new member to PCBWay, they'll give you a coupon for $5. And as a set of 5 PCBs, less than 10 centimeters squared, only costs $5, you effectively only need to pay for the shipping. You'll also find that they do offer other services such as CNC machining, 3D printing, and more. So go take a look at them at PCBWay, and thank you for sponsoring this video. So for now, we can temporarily place the camera slider on its battery and electronics housing to prop it up, whilst we switch on the electronics and we put the slider through some basic tests, and I explain to you how the touchscreen software works to allow you to easily program all sorts of different moves, combinations, and speeds. Don't worry though, because after this, I'll show you some 3D printable legs to position this on top of tabletops or similar, as well as some 3D printed tripod mount adapters, which allow you to position this in all sorts of interesting and varied ways. So let's have a look at the software now. I'm really proud of this, by the way. On the first screen here, you can select what style of movement you want for each of the axes. So for the x-axis, that's the one that runs side to side, you can choose to move from one position to another and then stop, to continuously run back and forth between 2 points, or just stay static. For the y-axis, that's the one up here that spins the camera around. You can run from one position to another, run back and forth between 2 points, or spin continuously, or remain static again. The y-axis does not require any homing, but if you choose to move the slider along the x-axis track and have not yet homed the position, then it's going to ensure that you do before you can proceed. This is as simple as pressing Home X-axis on the homing screen. This will begin the homing process, which will find the limits of its travel and then calculate the total length of movement available to it automatically. Once this is complete, the platform will return to the center and you can go back to the movement selection screen. We'll go ahead and choose to move both the X and Y axis from one point to another. Carrying on down to the Set Endpoint screen, you'll need to set all of the points for the movement types you selected on the previous screen. Now, I have made this page smart, so for example, if I go back and choose not to have any movement of the y-axis, we are no longer required to enter positions for that axis on this screen. Clicking the cog in the corner of any screen will access settings related to that screen. In the settings page for this screen, you can adjust the speed the axis moves while setting up the positions. This is different to the speed they will move during the actual shoot. As you set the points, they will turn themselves green. If you're missing any, you will be warned at the bottom. And with all of them set, you'll be allowed to move on to the next screen. On the speed of travel screen, you can choose between choosing a specific speed for either of the axis, so millimeters per second for the linear movement and degrees a second for the rotating y-axis. And then it will tell you the expected duration of the movement in the shaded side. Alternatively, you can toggle to specify the desired duration of either axis in seconds instead, and then the slider will automatically calculate the necessary movement speed to achieve that for you. When you're ready to run it, you first press starting positions to move both of the axes to their start locations. Once the slider is ready, you can press start and it will begin. Now at any point you can pause and resume the program, and you also have the option to start over again. If you do this, the slider will pre-fill all of the current values if you start a new program, allowing you to make adjustments to it or create an entirely new program by power cycling the slider. Here is an example of the x-axis going from one location to another, whilst the y is bouncing back and forth between 2 points until we stop it. As promised earlier, let's now mount this properly rather than leaving it propped up on the battery and electronics housing. Now there are two different ways that you can mount this. I've designed a set of 3D printable legs which raise it up onto a desktop or other flat surface for you, and you can also 3D print these adapters that allow you to mount it on any common set of tripod legs. There are two sizes of legs available to download and print depending on your needs and the size of your battery pack if you're using one. These are both fitted in the same way as the battery. You'll need two M5x14 bolts per leg and two more T-slot nuts per leg. This time you can try placing the nut loosely on the bolt after screwing the bolt all the way through the leg. This is then attached directly to your extrusion. The tripod mount is fitted in much the same way, but you'll need to add a 1/4 inch nylon nut into the print before fitting it. You can then add a quick release plate to this for attaching to any tripod. Including the nut makes the connection universal and so allows you to use all sorts of photographic equipment hardware such as ball heads. Thank you so much for watching through to the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed following along with this project and possibly building one of your own. I've enjoyed designing and sharing it with you. I have some other projects on my channel, such as this colour e-ink smart photo frame, which not only shows your favourite photographs, but syncs with your calendar, latest news articles and more. I recommend checking that one out. Otherwise, until the next video, do some good. Ciao for now.